Our appeal for $791 million have been funded around 30% as of now. That is why I'm appealing to international community to speed up and scale up their support. Filipino government needs to help those people to mitigate and adapt to this tragedy. I urge again to provide their generous support. That is why I met the key donor countries' ambassadors this morning here in Manila, and I urge them to provide and speed up their support. They need this support immediately because there are still shortages of food, water, sanitation, and they need a shelter. My impression, having visited Tacloban yesterday, was very dire situation. Is still very dire. But at the same time, I was very much impressed by such a strong resilience of the people. The businesses were coming slowly to normalcy, and people were motivated. And I was impressed when many people, citizens, wearing safety helmet, were clearing debris. Whatever they could do, they were doing. But there are many difficult things remaining which may need the heavy equipment. This may require time. Now, about this backlog, this is a huge logistical challenge because of geographical location and weather conditions still is not always favorable. But you should know that the whole United Nations humanitarian agencies are fully mobilized under the leadership of resident and humanitarian coordinator. And I met all the representatives of the United Nations agency yesterday. And then I asked them to work as one team, knowing that we really must meet the expectations of those people who desperately are in need of our support. And United Nations will continue to be committed and stand by with the Filipino government. We are doing our best efforts to mobilize, first of all, a mediation capacity, mediation. I have dispatched one special representative of the Secretary General to Juba, who will work closely with my special representative in South Sudan. They are cooperating closely with leadership of South Sudan. And I understand that African Union has also sent their mediation team. The foreign minister of 5 countries of IGAD, they are also on the ground meeting with both the parties, South Sudan and this former Vice President Machar parties. At this time, I know that there are differences between the two parties, but regardless of differences, it is important that this young independent country, which is just 2 years old, must address all these political differences in an inclusive dialogue. I have spoken to President Salva Kiir recently, and I have issued my statement that they must address this issue. I'm encouraged that President Salva Kiir expressed his willingness to engage in dialogue. As I said earlier in my statement, then the leadership of these two parties must sit down together with the aid of African Union and the United Nations to address the root causes of this and try to find out the political solution. They must stop violence. These 40,000 civilians who took refuge in the United Nations compound, they are very much vulnerable. Then there are many more thousand people who are very much feared and vulnerable. And at this time, the priority of the United Nations is to keep the lives of civilian population. For that, we are now actively trying to transform our assets from other peacekeeping missions like MONUSCO and some other areas. And we are also seeking support from other key countries who can provide the necessary assets. We are in shortage of capacity. When the UN compound was overrun by 2,000 armed elements, we were having difficulty. That is why, in the course of this protecting civilians, two UN peacekeepers unfortunately were killed. Again, I'm urging them to stop violence and protect the lives and address in political way. When this kind of magnitude of disaster hit the country or community, there's many issues of which needs to be taken into account in the course of reconstruction and rehabilitation and recovery process. First, most immediately, then we have to deploy life-saving support. This is what the United Nations and other key donor countries have been doing, providing water and sanitation and food and shelter. This has been done and will have to continue. Then government will have to have a mid and longer term plans for resettling and reintegrating and providing the rebuilding infrastructures and safer buildings on the basis of a safer building code and construction code, and also a longer term development and livelihood development project. UN and the Filipino government will continue to provide and work together. Basically, United Nations position will be sort of dovetailing with the ministries of Filipino government in their longer-term projects. Now, in other areas, there are many areas of inclusivity. There are many difference of ethnicities and a vulnerable group of people like girls and women and disabled peoples who would be very much vulnerable in this course of recovery. So I sincerely hope that the government will have a comprehensive way of plans to address these issues. UN is always ready to work very closely with government officials. Yesterday, I was grateful that when many secretaries, like Social Welfare and Development Secretary, and Defense Secretary, Interior Affairs Secretary, and the Health Secretary, they were all with me, and we listened to the concerns and wishes of people on the ground. I hope my visit will provide an occasion that the international community keep focus on this crisis. This should not be any forgotten crisis, and that's why I'm here. As I said in my remarks, we fully support the Filipino government's recovery and reconstruction plan. UN will support this one. Your president has announced in the amount of $8.17 billion for a mid and longer term support. This is based on assessment, damage assessment, like a damage and loss assessment, as well as post-disaster needs assessment. Therefore, United Nations and country team and all agencies will work very closely to help this long-term recovery and reconstruction plan be realized as soon as possible. Thank you.